What's going on YouTube? So I'm standing next to the all-new 2025 GMC Terrain, and this is the elevation trim, the base model. Now, one of the interesting things about this next generation Terrain is that the other two trims, the AT4 and Denali, those will be joining the lineup for the 2026 model year. However, for 2025, they're only going to have just the elevation trim. So that today presented a unique opportunity because we have the actual base model. It has no options whatsoever. So if you're wondering, what do you get with this next generation GMC Terrain in the elevation trim? Well, let's go ahead and find out. So getting started here with the exterior design. As you can see, we do have, of course, a brand new look because this is a completely new SUV for the GMC brand. Now with the elevation trim, you're going to have that boxy design still, but you're going to have the chrome bars that run across the fascia. We did a first look walk around of the Denali on the channel if you want to see what that looked like in a studio setting, but obviously this one's going to have a little bit of a simpler look than that model. You do still have these black accents though, which give it a little bit more of an aggressive design. Now come over here to our headlights. We've got a brand new unit that looks very similar to some other GMC products such as the Yukon. One of the things I'm very impressed with is the fact that even this very base model still has projector LED headlights as standard equipment, and it also has a LED turn signal and daytime running light. So this is a very premium looking cluster. Now moving on to the wheels, we do have a 17-inch alloy. The Denali will eventually offer up to a 20-inch alloy, but of course, you know, this is the base model. It does have a pretty good contrast design. You also notice we have a little bit of rugged cladding around the wheel arches. And then as far as our mirrors are concerned, we've got a gloss black finish up top. These have standard heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now at the side of the Terrain, we have an overall vehicle length of 181 inches for this all-new model. Now, I do want to point out, as far as some of the design touches, that this very base model is missing roof rails. That would overall spice up the design quite a bit if you were to option those on some of the higher-end models. And speaking of higher-end models, like Drew said, the Denali and AT4 aren't going to be available this model year. However, you can get a Terrain black package for this elevation trim level that will black things out, give you bigger wheels, more aggressive front fascia, as well as some of those nice features that you might be looking for. Now, as we roll around to the rear design for this all-new Terrain, I think this is a really handsome overall look. I was very impressed with it when we looked at it at the studio, and now out here in person, outside, I think it looks really fantastic. Now, let's go ahead and dive into some of the details. Up top, we do have a spoiler. We're also going to have an integrated wiper through here, big GMC branding, and one of the things that I'm very happy to tell you, even on this very most base model, we do have LED taillights, and these are going to be full LED taillights. So as you can see, you have LED accenting, LED brake light, as well as LED turn signal indicator, and an LED reverse light. That's a very premium touch for really any vehicle in this segment. As we drop down to the lower fascia, this is going to be finished in a kind of grayish gloss black. The maximum tow rating on the Terrain is 1,500 pounds. Now, when it comes to your safety systems, I'm happy to tell you for this all-new Terrain, you are going to get actually all of those as standard equipment. So that will even include things like adaptive cruise control. Now, one thing worth noting is that Super Cruise will not be available on any trim level of this new Terrain, so keep that in mind. But guys, there is some very impressive technology, especially for this price point on the inside. So let's dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. Now let's move to the inside. Here's our GMC key first. As you can see, it's their typical key fob. One thing you do have is standard smart entry as well as remote start, so that's very nice. And getting inside, there's no sensor behind the handle, so press that silver button right there, and that will unlock the door. All right, now taking a look at the interior, like Mason was saying, what you'll probably be most impressed by is just how much technology you get even in this very base model. But before we get into all the specific details of the cabin, let's start as always with our seats. Obviously, as you can see, we do have a cloth seat on board. That is what comes standard. However, the Elevation does have the ability to upgrade to something called Cortex. That's going to be a leatherette, and you've got a couple different color options, basically gray and black. These seats are also manual when you have the cloth option, or you can also get power seats that go with the leatherette. And memory seats are additionally available on the Elevation trim. But let's go ahead and get inside. Now, beyond the seats, let's see how the rest of the materials are on the base trim. We have a leatherette that runs all through here. It actually extends over here to this area by the window switches. We have a faux brushed aluminum through there and a soft touch plastic along the top part. As we move to the upper dashboard, this has a leatherette pad over our vent. We have a soft touch plastic that goes across the entire upper dash, more leatherette with stitching details through there, and faux aluminum accenting. And then down here along this center tunnel, this is hard touch, as you'd expect for this price point. However, it does feel nice and solid. Let's go ahead and fire it up with our standard push button start. But let's go ahead and dig into one of the very impressive things about this interior, and that is just the overall level of technology, beginning here with our gauge cluster. So all models will come with this 11-inch digital gauge cluster. It is fully reconfigurable, so you can just press the button on the steering wheel and change between several different views, including having a full screen Google Maps view. That is super impressive at this price point. Then, of course, as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have the latest version from GMC. Nice chunky design to this. Another really cool standard feature on every Terrain here is our heated steering wheel. And then, of course, it is manual tilt and telescoping. But let's go ahead and talk about interior storage. So I'll pop open center console here. Inside, we've got donuts. That, of course, is how we measure the volume of the center console here at Car Confections. And this fits in 13 donuts, so that's a baker's dozen and does pass the donut test for being more than a dozen. Now, before I close this up, kind of see that we've got this area here for phone storage. This can be a wireless phone charging pad. Optionally, you have 2 cup holders, another nice storage cubby right through there. And then you have this giant center pass-through. So they've really spent a lot of time making sure you have plenty of interior storage in here. One of the ways they accommodate that is by giving you an electronic shifter up here on the column and out of the way. Just pull down for drive. You've got paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Press up for reverse. When you go into reverse, here is our backup camera. Obviously, this is just going to come with the standard backup camera, but it does have active trajectory as well as parking sensors. And then I'll just press the P right there for park. Now, as we kind of come into this area, well, first of all, I guess I might as well just go ahead and talk about this main display. So this, as you can tell, is enormous. This is a 15-inch display, which is incredible to be standard on this model on all trim levels. It's really very, very large. Now, part of this display is going to be our climate controls. So you'll see that down there at the bottom. Now, it looks like it's only in the display, but you actually do have physical controls underneath of each of these functions so that you can make adjustments. One of the interesting things about this base Elevation is the fact that this actually has a manual climate control, but it's, as you can tell, shown in the display. So you can adjust kind of up and down in general between hot and cold, but you don't have an actual temperature that you can adjust or auto fan until you go up to one of the higher trim levels. Also inside of the display are your headlight controls, and we have a big volume knob embedded in there for the standard 6-speaker sound system. Let's give that a quick sample. Overall sound quality is okay for this price point, but this standard system is certainly lacking much bass, so hopefully they will offer another upgraded sound system on this elevation trim level as well as the upcoming trim levels. Okay, so bringing ourselves back to this infotainment system, again, this is the latest and greatest GMC infotainment software. This comes out straight from the Acadia, and we were very impressed with the time we spent with it. One of the cool things is that it has built-in Google Apps. So you'll notice right now I'm just navigating in Google Maps. Really nice response with this screen, great graphics as well. And other Google apps are built into the system as well, such as Google Assistant and the Play Store. This does have wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay. I'll pull that open so you can see it. So that's what that looks like as well. And by the way, I did almost miss the fact that this has standard heated seats as well. So standard heated seats, standard heated steering wheel. Rising above here, we've got the manual dimming mirror. And as you'd expect, since I said we don't have any options whatsoever on this model, we do not have the panoramic sunroof, but it is available on the elevation trim.
So let's see what you're going to get in the rear seat area of this GMC Terrain. Now, first of all, let's talk about space. Space is a very impressive element for this model because we are going to come in at 39 inches of legroom and about 38 inches of headroom. Those are both very good space figures. It's not exactly what I would call class leading, although it is definitely a very solid option in the segment, if not in the upper end. Now, I'm 5'9", and Drew is 5'8", and this seat is adjusted to him. As far as overall knee room we have left, that's about 8 inches, so that's really quite good. Also, my feet can easily slide up underneath of the seat. I do want to point out, though, that the rear seats do not recline, so this is just going to be the only configuration that you can have these rear seats in. Now, as far as features are concerned, we do have a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders inside. And taking a look at other features, we have 2 USB-C ports as well as vents. I'm very happy to see that vents are standard equipment. And then as we go down to this lower area, there's a little hole maybe for storing a few little items. Additionally, you can even get heated rear seats on the elevation trim level. It just depends on how many options you want to add to this. Now, as far as the door trim is concerned, it is made of pretty nice material. So the upper part is going to be a pretty nice soft plastic. We also have a leatherette through the center section and all through the armrest portion. Additionally, you do have quite a bit of door storage. Now coming up to the tailgate, we have a fully manual tailgate on today's example. Now, of course, you can also get a power tailgate, and it does have the new Auto Sense feature, so that's the hands-free function as you walk up and approach it. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, you can expect about 29 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. If you fold those seats down, you're going to have a maximum of around 63 cubic feet. If you're curious as to what maybe some of the best options in this very popular compact SUV segment are when it comes to cargo capacity, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings, because not only have we laid out all of the numerous options in this compact SUV segment for you there, we also have a chart that will allow you to sort based on the things that are most important to you. So for instance, if technology is the most important thing for you, this GMC Terrain definitely scores highly there, as well as different things such as cargo capacity. If you'd like to take a look at that, once again, it is carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now, coming back to this Terrain, I do want to point out there are not any handles to fold the second row, so you will just have to kind of reach up here and fold the seats down. They do fold 60-40 split, so keep that in mind. And once I do get all of that done, let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. That's something we do in all of our Car Confections reviews. From behind Drew's 5'8" driving position, you can expect around 72 inches of overall length. From behind the second row, about 35 inches of length. Let's see how wide it is. The all-new Terrain comes in about 41 inches wide. And then overall height is going to be pretty good at 29 inches tall. Now, as far as under the floor, as you can see, we actually have way more space than you might expect. It actually goes way up underneath of here as well. And if we lift this piece up, that's where you will find a spare tire. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the all-new 2025 GMC Terrain. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a few different things. As you can see on the screen right now, we'll also be getting our sound level reading, but first we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, so there we are accelerating. Not quite up to 60 miles an hour since we were heading up to this stoplight. But in terms of the powertrain, let's talk about that. So we spent a week fairly recently with the all-new Chevy Equinox. This does share the same powertrain as that model. So it means we have a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. It makes 175 horsepower and at 203 pound-feet of torque with all-wheel drive. Now, in terms of how that feels out on the road, you know, power is not going to be the best in class, that's for sure. This is on the lower end, as we discussed with that Equinox. It's not going to be terrible, though. It just depends on what your expectations are. I know a lot of people in this class of vehicle aren't really looking to have the most power, so it's not a big deal to them. It is going to be down, you know, maybe 20 horsepower versus a lot of the competition, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, it's not terrible, and the torque also does kind of help compensate for that. Over 200 pound-feet of torque is pretty good for this segment. Now, do be aware, though, they are not offering any hybridized version of the Terrain or the Equinox, for that matter, so keep that in mind. A lot in this segment will have a hybrid option to give you better fuel economy as well as sometimes a little bit better power. That's not going to be an available option here on the all-new Terrain. And while we're just kind of cruising it down the road, I want to take a second here to discuss ride quality for the all-new Terrain. Now, keep in mind, we are in the very base elevation model, but as far as the ride quality is concerned, I'd say it's a really nice riding vehicle. When you hit a bump in the road, it does a great job of soaking it up. As you can see, we just changed pavement textures, and it really does a great job of soaking things up. The seats I find to be decently comfortable here, you know, at the cloth seat that's standard on the very base elevation model, and we do also have pretty small wheels, 17 inches on the outside, so that does overall get you pretty good ride quality. Do keep in mind, though, if you choose the upcoming Denali, so next year, if you choose the Denali, that will have a premium tuned suspension, so it will ride a little bit different than this model.
Now, when it comes to the transmission, there's an important thing to talk about, and that's the fact that there's actually going to be two different transmissions. So if you get this model with front-wheel drive, you'll get a continuously variable transmission. If you choose all-wheel drive, which we have today, that's going to get you an 8-speed automatic transmission. A lot of the rivals in this segment are going to CVTs kind of really across the board. So the fact that you do have the availability of the traditional automatic, I think is going to be a big benefit from you guys. As you can tell, you don't really have that droning or anything like that. We haven't driven the CVT version of this powertrain in the new Equinox or this Terrain, but I think the 8-speed will still probably be the way to go for most people.
But let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. We went ahead and toggled it down to fan speed 1, and let's see how quiet the new Terrain is. .7 decibels is what we are sitting at as our official Kentucky sound level reading for this new GMC Terrain. We don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to other compact SUVs out there. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings and see how all the rivals stack up. And that sound level reading will place it pretty much in the middle of the segment when it comes to overall quietness, which I have to say, I think is pretty impressive, considering that today it is very windy outside. It's been kind of blowing the car around as we've been driving. I believe it's 20 or 30 mile an hour wind gust. So that's a pretty good sound level reading, especially for a base model as well. Now let's talk about our slam dunk and airball, which is our favorite and least favorite element about this all-new GMC Terrain. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the slam dunk?
The slam dunk is got to be the standard technology on board. Really impressive stuff to give you that digital cluster, give you that gigantic 15-inch display, which isn't just about, you know, being big, but functions really, really well.
Yeah. On the airball side of things, the one thing that we could come up with that's kind of peculiar about the GMC Terrain is the fact that this is what's arriving first to dealership lots. This is the very base model with 0 options on it, and it is very interesting to us that you will not be able to get the Terrain Denali or the AT4, which I assume will honestly probably be maybe more popular trim levels than this base Elevation model. So I think it's a little interesting that they didn't at least offer those, for the 2025 model year, and that it's only the Elevation this year.
Now that was our auto start stop system engaging, and I have to say it is very smooth.
And what is the fuel economy? Let's dive into that. Front-wheel drive models come in at 27 mpg combined. All-wheel drive comes in at 25 mpg. So that's going to be okay fuel economy. It's certainly not bad at all, but I do want to point out that many of the rivals, especially those that are offering hybrids, can get upwards of 40 miles per gallon while still delivering more power than what this Terrain has. So just keep that in mind. If ultimate efficiency is your main mission, you might want to look somewhere else. And let's discuss pricing. So that is going to be a strong suit, especially of the model that you've seen today. So we don't have official pricing for all the trim levels yet. GMC has not released that. However, we do have the base price of the Elevation. That is going to be $32,000. So if you come over here and look at the window sticker, we have the 2025 Terrain Elevation all-wheel drive. We start at $32,000. We have 0 options, $13,995 destination, all told $33,395 as tested today. Now, as far as your warranty, you do have GMC's signature warranty, which is a 3-year 36 basic, 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain, and you do get 1 complimentary service visit. If you're looking to buy a GMC Terrain or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. It can help the dealers to start to compete on pricing. We even have a monthly payment tool if you're interested in checking that out. A link to that is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a car is about more than just original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this GMC Terrain's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 55.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 21.6%. It's worth noting that is actually a pretty good resale value by percentage. It's above industry average, and it is going to be better than even other brands like Chevrolet. However, do keep in mind it's not going to be as good as other brands such as Toyota and Honda.
Now let's talk about reliability. We developed something called the Combined Reliability Index, which takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, GMC is rated above the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values or reliability data, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth review of the 2025 all-new GMC Terrain and its very base trim level. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're not only going to get the latest car reviews such as this, you're also going to get reviews on not just the highest-end trim levels. As you can see today, we did the very base model to show you what you get standard equipment, and a lot of times you can't really find videos on that. So if you're interested in finding that, you be sure to subscribe to our channel down below. If you're already a fan and subscriber of our channel, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.